Stand by. Five, four, three, two. Welcome to the Hockey on Tap podcast. This is Sam Wu introducing Bill, Little Steve, and Schwim for their pilot episode 1 titled Hockey and Beer Cup Optional. Take it away, Bill. It's all you.
Hey, Sam. Thank you very much for having us. This is Hockey on Tap podcast. I'm your host, Bill Dean, with our assistant hosts, Steve Echeverry and Michael Sandillo, a.k.a. Schwim. We're here to just have fun, talk some hockey, talk some beer, just enjoy ourselves. This is inaugural podcast, like Sam just said, and we would like to thank the Let's Go Devils podcast as well as Primetime Radio Network for having us. Steve, Schwim, why don't you start us off? Give us a little info on your team, bud.
Yep, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. My name's Schwim. My favorite team is Tampa. I've been a Bolts fan since I was 10 or 11. This is one of my favorite players. You can't see. Darren Pupa was my favorite player growing up, so that's what got me into liking them. I know. At one point, I think I was the only Tampa fan in New Jersey. But now I think I've seen it grown a little bit. That's what I'm saying. But I don't know if I still am, but I think I'm probably the first one ever, maybe. So that's it for me. Good.
Pioneering Tampa Bay fans
in New Jersey.
Yeah, Little Steve here. Penguins fan since the first time I've seen a game was Rangers versus Penguins, and thankfully I made the right choice in that game there.
Absolutely.
But I gotta say, that vocalist in that opening video, he was pretty good looking. I can't say the same for the drummer.
Yeah, the hair is a little much. I think he needs
the flowing hair. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the hair looked pretty nice to me. I heard that the vocalist actually used to straighten his hair.
I think I heard that too.
Rumors.
That's quarantine hair right there.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I'm getting there. I mean,
that's why I'm wearing a hat.
I like to copy that vocalist. His style gets all the chicks, it seems. All right. What do you? So we're gonna talk some beers too. So why don't we start? What are we drinking tonight? I'll let you know what I'm drinking first. I decided to get Sigmeister, and this is a good opportunity. What I want to say before we get into descriptions of the beers that we have, we play a lot of beer league hockey, and I know a lot of go-to beer is Bud Light, Coors Light, Miller Lite, whatever you can get for cheap.
The Rushmore of beers,
which is fine. We'll get into that discussion and criticisms later, but nowadays when we're all staying home, we're quarantined. Small businesses are having some troubles staying afloat. A lot of these local craft breweries, they're still going, and they'll go so far as to even deliver the beer for you, which Sigmeister kindly did for me. The fine people at Sigmeister did. So I'm drinking All Together. It's a new IPA that they brewed. It's worldwide collaboration, brewed to support the hospitality professionals. So they do a fantastic job over at Sigmeister. In fact, I don't think I've had anything there that I haven't enjoyed thoroughly. But yeah, we just have it's just an IPA, 6.5% alcohol. We'll see how it is. Let you know how it is by the end of the show. What do you got there, Schwim?
I have it's called Scorpius Morcella. It's by Toppling Goliath. I actually also just got this delivered to me today through the mail, though, because I think this is from Iowa. Cool can. It's a double hazy IPA. So we're trying it out. First time. Pretty good.
Yeah, and I'm going to Canada here. Little Collective Arts Brewing. It's a mango tangerine sour. Very tasty. So it's, drink local. Obviously, we're not drinking. Two of us aren't drinking local, but drink local and support your local bars and everything they do during this quarantine time. As you can see, I'm a Ranger fan. Been so since '94. That's the first real opportunity for me to watch great hockey, as these two will see. But yeah, so we wanted to go about this podcast. Just quick state of the league. Where we are in terms of where the league left off. As the top in that Atlantic, you had Boston and then Tampa. Schwim's Bolts over there. They were the leaders. What?
I said, it.
Oh yeah, they were the leaders in that Atlantic Conference, and then down in the Metro, we had Washington and Philly. Obviously, the big thing was where they left off, the number of games that were played, and how they could go about making this into into a playoff scenario. We had talked earlier about this, different possibilities with the league and it possibly being like a 2014 playoff, or maybe just doing 16 and cutting it off a couple games. Schwim, you can lead it off. What do you guys think about different scenarios in terms of the playoffs and how they can kind of make a possible shitty ending into something good, or is there a way not to do that?
Well, I think there's no way you're going to please everybody. There's whatever way they go, somebody's going to be like, oh, that's not fair. And if they go another way, oh, that's not fair. To me, in my opinion, I don't like the 2014 idea. I think that's just like letting teams who weren't even in the playoffs to start.
Arguably not even on the bubble.
Yeah, just because they're kind of close or something. Like, what's the point? To me, like, what's the point of the regular season? You working that hard to be number one in your division or something like that, and some team that's 20 points behind you, but they're 3 or 4 points out of a playoff spot. They get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I'd say, but on the same token, coming from someone whose team is out of the playoffs right now, 2 points out of the wild card, 7 points back of the Pens. There's a big difference between. Nice cat there.
All right.
We will be interrupted frequently by cats, and then I guess some of you can guess just how many are in this house.
We got 2 right in the screen. But you got Rangers 2 points back in the Metro with that, like I said, the 7 points back of the Pens, and being able to possibly make up those points because they're tied in the standings with in terms of games played with Columbus, as well as a couple other teams. Getting them to the playoffs, to me as a Ranger fan, obviously you want to see that. So obviously if they're going to go out and say and this was another thing that NHL came out with. Bill Daly said this, that maybe the first 6 teams in each division make the playoffs. Now, if that's the case, that means the Rangers are out of it, and they're assured of a top 7 pick. So if you're going to give me assurance that I'm going to get a top 7 pick, I'll sacrifice the season.
Well, I saw those different scenarios. Obviously, the 12 team scenario, and like I was saying before, arguable bubble teams. So, you want to think of it at this point in the season, we're 68, 69, 70 games into the season. There's teams that are, there's whatever mathematics you put together where you can say, obviously you're not mathematically eliminated, but in order to make it, you need a lot to happen. And while 6 points out doesn't sound like a big deal, it certainly can be if you're chasing the playoffs. So, and it brings me back to, the beginning of the season and beginning of seasons in general, just because you look at, we're basically at the point where we've had an entire off season already. And you look at the teams who notoriously start the season hot, Buffalo being one of them. Now, would they be one of those 12 teams? Currently, they're not. So I guess that's a good thing, because who wants to see that? And then they're also talking about, like, how many, of course, how many games. Obviously, what's off the table now, I don't know how many people have been following the discussions the league has been having with the playoff situation. No one is in favor of single elimination games. So if that is the thought process for anybody, I know the fans would hate it, but luckily the entire league and the GMs and everything, they're completely against that. A lot of them are discussing different number of games in the series. Some, I think even one or two, just a handful of GMs mentioned having the first round being a best of three, which also I don't think is a good idea. Best of five seems to be a thing. Also discussions about how they're going to set up the format, because 7-game series, obviously we know that there are usually 2-2-1-1-1 as far as who travels where. But they'll do it more like other sport leagues do, where it might be 2 games at home, 3 games away, depending on which team, and then back for 2 more games at home. I think basketball does that, baseball does that, I believe. So to limit the travel and the disinfection of locker rooms and things of that nature. But it's gonna be tricky on how they do this, and I don't think anyone's gonna really be happy. However this is settled. Although, I mean, maybe the consolation, we're going to get hockey back. Hopefully, I mean, it seems that way, that it's going to happen no matter what. But that's still not set in stone that we're even going to have a season. As we saw, the AHL just canceled the rest of their season and playoffs today. So it's looking like just about every single league has been canceled except for the NHL.
And we'll get into leagues, obviously, because that was a big topic, the AHL canceling, and and possibly just having teams, losing them to not the ability to not pay for them. So that's a big thing. I was looking over here because there is some hockey on. There's the Minnesota and Michigan 2015 Big Ten championship game, which actually that Michigan team had a shit ton of NHL talent. You got Larkin, You got Confer, you had Zach Hyman, Brady Shea was on that Minnesota team. But anyways, so we're talking about the playoffs and the prospect of there being playoffs. And, Schwim, with your team being as close as they are last year, when I say that being the team that's built for a playoff run, we know what happened. I won't get into that this podcast. but with them being, a team that's been on some big runs this year, how do you see them going into a playoff series, and especially with the injuries that they had and some possible, drop and play over this little run? What do you see happening with your Bolts?
I don't know. I could see a drop and play with everybody because everybody's been off for so long. But I think the one, I don't know, good thing about, I don't want to say good thing about this, but the one maybe positive is that all the guys that were hurt on everybody's team have enough time to heal and recover and whatnot, and might be able to come back if they restart the season or go right into the playoffs. But my team specifically, I mean, they were doing pretty good before everything got shut. They were number 2 in the league, actually, not just the division and the conference. Boston, I think, is number 1 in the league, and Tampa is number 2 in the league. So I love playoff hockey. That's what I want to see. I want to see my team in the playoffs. So they're in no matter what. If the season starts, I don't have to worry about it. My team's in.
Yeah. Will, and another question is, Will, since like I said, since we're basically have an entire off season already, and who knows when we're even going to start, prolonging it, maybe 3-4 months we're looking at break. Will the same playoff intensity even be there?
Especially
these guys are I mean, and without fans, I mean, are you going to get the same? Are we going to get the same game back? The same exciting playoffs? Because NHL playoffs are the most exciting playoffs of any sport that there is, hands down. I will listen to somebody debate me on that, but I think that might be proven scientifically and mathematically. But anyway, it's gonna be weird, and it's gonna be strange. And after all of this, all this quarantining and things, and you even look into next season. Is next season even going to start normally? What is normal? What is the new normal? What's gonna? it's strange times, and I hope we can salvage something, and I hope whatever ends up happening will be enjoyable, for us as fans, and for the players too, and to make sure everybody is safe. That's the
Yeah, Steve.
priority, is safety of everyone.
Yeah, obviously, they would have some kind of a training camp system to start up. They probably do a game or two, probably to get some, legs underneath them, and then they go right back into the playoffs, scenario in that system. And I could just see that these guys would give up their lives to win the cup. So I don't see their intensity and their ability to play, despite injuries. I don't see them giving that up and not playing hard hockey because there's no fans in the stands. And I just don't see that happening. But they're talking about 2 weeks of training camp and then 2 weeks of games. That would probably put you at the end of June, July, and then starting off playoffs in September, going 4 weeks, and then the draft would happen in October, and then back in November, another season starting. And I think that's a bad idea. I think that this is one season that's kind of already in turmoil. So why not end it in turmoil? Make it chaotic. Just go about some kind of a playoff. Make it quick. It's going to have an asterisk no matter what. This is the season that Corona happened, and speaking of this, we get this opportunity to podcast to everybody. But with coronavirus, our thoughts and prayers are with everybody that's been affected. This is a crazy time, and we understand that it's tough on a lot of people, and we're just, our thoughts and prayers are out to everybody that are affected by this. I know all three of us, I'm sure, have know people, and we're aware of it. And but with this whole thing, I just think that bring the chaos, bring it quick, and then get that next season, next year, get it going, and have a full season. No reason to skimp out on two. That's just my view.
Yeah, but also, I mean, like I was saying before, who even knows if next season is going to be normal? I know that we want to just be like, whatever's going to happen with the season, whatever happens, just figure something out, get a plan, get some structure, and just finish it, and then we'll start next season fresh. But again, we don't know. Next season is still very much a question mark about how the structure and everything is going to be. And I want to just get this out of the way. With everything that's happening right now out there with coronavirus, and there's priorities in the world, and this subject is trivial when it comes to people's health. So, but it's just that this is an open discussion, and while obviously people's lives are the priority, and sports are kind of obviously they take a back seat, but we're sitting here, and we just want to, and there's the shot of the night right there, I gotta say. Yep. Replaced by a cat's anus. I always said that I am part cat, and now that I see that a cat's anus replacing my face, I really know that I am part cat. But anyway, like I was saying, not to get too serious or too too morbid about this, but just wanted to make it clear that the safety and health of the entire population is the number one priority, and we hope we can get some sort of sports entertainment just to kind of keep our sanity and to keep us busy and to keep us obviously just entertained, because that's all it really is. But yeah, I hope something can happen. And I know what you're saying, like keep it chaotic, whatever, but I think at the same time, maybe fans just be like, it's going to, no matter what, it's going to suck, figure something out and give us some sort of idea as to what it's going to be. This way we can just stop wondering and stop debating as to, well, maybe this will be better, maybe this will be better, and this will be better. At the end, I don't think there's going to be an asterisk, because it's still, even with shortened seasons because of the lockouts, it's still a Stanley Cup. Obviously, opposing fans are going to give that argument that you're not really a cup winner because of this whole coronavirus that happened. But when push comes to shove, a cup win is a cup win, and I don't think any of the players are going to view it that way.
Just quick tap in. This is Hockey on Tap podcast, part of the Primetime Radio Network. We're here on Facebook Live with everybody, and we see a bunch of comments. We appreciate the feedback, and there's a lot of funny comments on here. The cat is the star, apparently, Steve. So get more cat.
Hey, what can I say?
But we appreciate all you guys tuning in tonight. Let's talk a little more about some draft stuff. Quick tidbits from Bill Daly just on how to in terms of this draft. They're talking about a June draft ahead of the season resuming, which that's again once again it's that chaos. You're talking about having a draft before the season ends. Schwim, yeah, take it away. We'll talk about some of the suggestions that they had, but you say it all. So.
Yeah, doing a draft before anything is I think that's crazy. And I think I was reading something that most of the GMs feel like, what is the point of doing the draft and everything before restarting the season / playoffs, whatever they do. Oh yeah, but
everybody saw how the NFL draft went and the amount of ratings and views it got. Yeah,
it's like they need to do something too because the NFL did something.
Right.
I don't think so. I think they should keep it the way it is. Try to come in with a season, playoffs, whatever, and then try to do the draft afterwards. There's no way you can do a draft before going back in. I mean, that's how I feel.
I agree. Yeah, I think it's going to be just too much, and with picks, compensatory picks, possibly coming into play because of rental players.
Trading, right? How would they do?
Yeah, I mean,
I look forward to draft day for huge trades to happen. I don't think that's going to be able to happen.
Yeah, I mean, just some suggestions that the league actually put. They're talking about conditional trades that the league would actually propose solutions. So the league's actually going to go forward and give you, talk to the teams about their trades, and if there are conditional picks, they're going to go out, and if the NHL thinks it's not fair, they're going to make amendments to that, which I think is BS. But there are also two different ways to change that lottery format. One is to use the team's points percentage. So if the Rangers ended with 68 points, their percentage points off of that. That would determine the draft order where the top 16 teams obviously are playoffs and those bottom 15 would be in the lottery, which, just like any other draft. And the other one would be changing the lottery format so that, only one winner so the winner of the draft can only move up 4 places. So, if a team's drafting 15, they can only move up to 11. So, obviously that promotes, but it promotes a little more of the tanking, which, it's hockey, right? So just go with what you have.
Yeah, I think I know that the sorry to interrupt you, Sean. The trade deadline came and went, and obviously the teams that were, quote unquote tanking already unloaded any of their talented players. But also we also haven't finished the season. I mean, there's still 12 to 14 games left for a lot of teams. So the teams that were truly going to tank or truly wanted to tank didn't really get the opportunity to. So I think the standings as is kind of, I know that it's not a popular opinion to get rid of the lottery, but since we are in a bizarre situation here with this season, I think just give Detroit Alexis Lafreniere already, because that team was a special kind of bad, and historically bad, and they, I don't think they did this on purpose. I think that if you watch them and watch games, they are a bad team. And even the guys that they unloaded, like Athanasiou, underachieving, maybe question the system, question the talent around them, question whatever you want to question. The team was awful. Jimmy Howard hadn't won a game since October. And that's not him tanking. I'm sure the guy wants to win. So that my opinion, give Detroit the pick, the first overall pick.
They're historically bad. They're a million times worse than the next worst team. Mm-hmm. And I don't want the 15th worst team in the league winning the lottery and getting the shoot all the way up. It should only be
the 7th.
When it's this bad, I think it should be Detroit. I'm not saying they should get number 1. I hope they do, because they're horrible. So and they're on a complete rebuild. But I don't want the 15th team winning the lottery and getting to shoot all the way up to first or something or whatever.
Yeah, that for sure. I think that shouldn't
when
even
Detroit
be
is this bad. If it wasn't if Detroit wasn't this horrible, I would say okay. But they're 20 points behind.
If it was close, if there was a competition for the worst team in the league, and there is not a competition for the worst team in the league. It is Detroit.
It's flat out
by
Detroit.
A mile.
Montreal hasn't beat them this season.
I know. Imagine that.
Imagine they play Montreal the whole season.
Yeah.
First.
82-0.
Poor Montreal.
Nice.
Poor Montreal.
Perfect season.
Hey, as a Ranger fan, I'll take that number 1 pick. So I'm not going to give it so freely and willingly. But obviously, Detroit's bad, but they've been bad since the onset. And if this was a regular season, regular normal season, they would still have to fight for that pick with ping pong balls, and let's do the same thing. Let's have ping pong balls. Let's give it, everybody gets a little bit of a chance. It's not, the loser's cup. It's, it's a little bit of everything. So, but, the draft obviously is something that they're going to work through and they're going to get through, and it'll be something we can, it'll be hotly contested. And, the NHL suggests this idea because of complaints that the lottery winner could also win the Stanley Cup, which would be funny if Steve was saying this about Buffalo, that they historically make hot runs in the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Imagine if they get into the playoffs, make a hot run, lose out, but then go into the loser bracket in the draft and then get the number one pick.
Yeah,
so
imagine that.
That's I guess that's what they're fighting against, and it's all stuff that's going to be talked about and thoroughly discussed. We're all shooting off the cuff and giving our opinions on what we see and what we read, which is all we can do right now. So.
Yeah.
I think they should also do something for the team that finishes the best in the league. Like, what does the number one team in the league ever get? They just get a
President's Trophy.
A President's Trophy and a banner. I think there should be more incentive.
Regular season, you mean? Not the Stanley
for regular
Cup winner,
season. That's what I
obviously.
mean. The regular season.
I mean,
whoever
last
finishes
year
best
they got a
regular
clean.
season.
Last year they got a clean sweep, right?
Yeah, they were awarded a clean sweep
what I'm
at the
saying.
hands of Columbus
got a
Blue
broom.
Jackets.
They got a
But
broom.
the regular season. That's what I'm saying. The regular season. There's it doesn't matter what you do really.
I mean, it's supposed to.
You get the first seed in the playoffs.
Yeah,
that's it.
and
Like,
you get
what does
to
that
play
matter?
the
Playoffs,
team.
Whoever you play in the playoffs, it does not matter.
You
what
get
I'm
home
saying.
ice advantage. As that's
Well, hockey's
You
one of
should, get
those
like
that
you should get like an extra draft pick or something, or like a bag of pucks. I don't know, something. Some incentive to finish
with
first.
President's Trophy on it.
Yes.
Autographed
You guys
by
did
Gary
a good
Bettman.
job.
yeah,
Yeah, it's Gary Bettman, thumbs up with his autograph. That's what you win.
Yeah.
yeah. Just
Good job. Now
every
go get
player
swept by
gets
Columbus.
every player
or
gets a
swept by
picture.
Columbus.
Oh, they get a banner to hang in the rafters of Gary Bettman giving you the thumbs up,
Oh man.
and then they
Yeah,
can
that's
raise
true.
it on opening night, and
All
everyone
right,
wins.
so obviously,
I wouldn't mind seeing that.
yeah, well, that'd actually be really funny. But so, anyways, one of the big things, with the teams is talking about pros and cons, and obviously a con for ending the season the way they are. It's not fun, but it's something that has happened. But just some pros and cons on your teams. Just speaking from the Rangers' points, I mean, Artemi Panarin, almost 100 points. He's at 95. If that season ended with the full 82, he'd have that 100, and he'd be the first guy since Yager, which first of all is pathetic, but we'll talk about that later. You got Mika Zibanejad, who was a beast this year, 41 goals in only 57 games. I mean, he was on fire. I think he had the most points and goals in the league since January 31st, and it was ahead of Draisaitl. He was just having a beast of a season. Ryan Strome, Tony DeAngelo, each having career years. Former Tampa Bay. And if I get this dog on tomorrow, right, and we name her Mika, absolutely Mika Zibanejad is going to be traded to the Tampa Bay Bolts.
Yeah. So
Absolutely. So maybe I'll just leave her.
I'll wait that one out.
Yeah, maybe I'll leave it as Mini. So obviously the two.
Don't name your pets
fighting
after
for our
Rangers.
place. Yeah, I know. Well, I have one. We'll talk about him much later. Obviously the big thing for the Rangers, right? Hank in goal. Obviously, this being possibly his last year. Well, not contractually, but just the Rangers kind of stuck. Just the Rangers, not playing what I think. Yeah, what the Rangers not playing it right with Shesty. I wish they had traded Georgiev. And I realize that he's a young goalie, and you want to see out of the two who really flies, but just having Shesterkin and then Hank backing him up for that next year, I think it would be fantastic. Obviously Shesterkin's one of the top young goalies. 10-2 record, .932 save percentage. He was lights out this year before he got hurt. And then you got the young guns, right? You got Fox, Kakko, you got Hedel, Kreider coming back from injury, Booch at 50 points. I mean, there's tons of positives on a team that might not make the playoffs. Obviously, cons, not making the playoffs, but hopefully a pro is getting that top pick. So, what about the Penguins?
This is so. First of all, this is the first time I'm saying this, and obviously a long time. You probably know it, but it's been a while since I have been able to say that the Rangers are legitimately a fun team to watch. As much as I am not a fan of theirs, they are very enjoyable. They're fast. They're talented. They're exciting. There's a lot
A lot of good young
there's
players.
still a lot that needs to be fixed. I think your defense, you need more. You need something. Yeah, you have some promising players back there. A lot of them with good offensive ability, and not a lot of them with good defensive ability. But they are fun to watch. And I was saying, even when the season was going, is that I didn't want to see them squeak into those playoffs because as hot as they've been, and the talent that they have, and the energy that they have, if they squeak into that 7-8, that they're going to give those top seeds a real run for their money. I can see them upsetting one of them, Boston or, whether it be Washington or Philadelphia, whoever was finishing in the Atlantic there. But anyway, that's enough Ranger praising for a lifetime for me. But the
Shorts
Penguins
guy.
were, Shorts guy.
I was just saying, going through some Facebook stuff because these are pretty good comments, and we'll go through and read some comments. Obviously, throughout the podcast, you guys are on there, writing away, and it's pretty cool to see. But Shorts guy says President's Trophy winners should get free kegs of Heineken.
Yeah,
And then,
I'm down for that.
And their
Mr.
fans.
Brett Porter goes,
Or maybe
Mr.
just
Brett,
one fan.
Mr. Brett Porter goes, Pennsylvania style lager, good beer or best beer ever. So discussions.
Pennsylvania style lager. Let me tell you something about Pennsylvania style lager. This is just a quick description since this is a beer podcast. I drank Pennsylvania style lager on a Tuesday night and had my appendix removed that Friday. That is what Pennsylvania style lager does to the inside of your body.
So if you don't want to go to work for
no, I can't say this is scientifically proven.
Is that what you're saying?
This is my opinion, but that did happen.
Coincidence?
It's a little
Yeah, so
more than a
Pencil's-
coincidence.
Yeah, Pennsylvania style lager. If you want to sponsor us, we're right here.
Yeah.
I'll drink two of them and get both appendixes.
Pennsylvania style lager. Appendix? Who needs that?
I don't need them. That's why God gave you two of them. You can lose one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why don't
whatever.
we go about those shitty pens and that nice uniform you got on the top left of your shoulder, Steve?
All right. Well, the Penguin season has been something. I know there's a lot of Penguin fans in New Jersey, which it has been really cool growing up. I didn't know a lot when I was younger, but going to games, even Rangers or Devils, you get a lot of people show up rooting with you, which is kind of nice. But it's been an odd season, frustrating in the fact that these injuries were just insurmountable. At least you would think that they'd be insurmountable, but the quantity of man games lost was just, it's frustrating. And it's not just, fringe players getting hurt, fourth liners, third liners. I mean, you're talking about every superstar on the team has been hurt for an extended period of time. And every day, basically, you're getting a different lineup. And I think that they've had Mike Sullivan has had his full arsenal of players for two periods this entire season. So that part has been frustrating, but at the same time, the call-ups have been doing phenomenal. So they got them through a couple great streaks. They were even in first place in the Metro for a hot minute and then decided to lose a whole bunch of games, slid down. Philadelphia got really hot. Washington is kind of up and down, but Philly's been real hot. But a couple pleasant surprises with these call-ups. I mean, Brian Rust, who can say enough about the guy?
Yeah.
Throughout their cup runs, he was clutch, scoring big goals for them in their cup runs. In fact, I do remember specifically 2 goals in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals in 2016.
My headset's not working for some reason right now. It's really weird.
I can be louder.
What's going on?
Brian Rust, over a point per game guy, scoring career highs in goals and assists. 27 goals. He probably would have broken 30 goals. I mean, you got to assume with 12, 14 games left in the season. Only played 55 games, 56 points. Evgeny Malkin seemed to have found his stride again. Much better bounce back season. He's over a point per game guy. Jake Gensel, before he got hurt, looking like a superstar winger. The kid is the real deal. Of course, you can't say enough about Sidney Crosby. I know I'm not going to get a lot of credit for saying that. There's a lot of I've heard all of the criticisms, but also having another great season. Goalie-wise, Tristan Jarry. Going to the
Yeah.
All-Star game. Big surprise.
Over
Played
Murray.
over Murray. Statistically over Murray as well.
I put him over
Yeah,
Murray.
so so we were talking about this. If the season was to end and playoffs were to start, would you want Murray back in the crease, knowing that he's won you 2 cups, or would you rather have Yari taking over and kind of going with what he's been showing you?
Personally, I would have very much liked to have seen Tristan Jarry be put into a high-stress situation in enemy territory, away at Philly, away at Washington. Big games, big energy, big talent, and see how he fared. We don't know what Jarry is going to be like in the playoffs. I want to say now, if I had to choose, so if you're forcing me to choose somebody now, I would love to see Tristan Jarry start game 1 of these playoffs, because while he's slowed down and fizzled out a little bit, he hasn't looked great in his last handful of starts. In fact, Matt Murray's looked a little better, but it seems like neither of them really wants to take over the number 1 spot now that everyone's healthy. So I love Tristan Jarry's puck-playing ability. He is a weapon back there, and I had the pleasure of going out to Pittsburgh for a game this year. 2 rows back, sitting behind him in the second period, I saw him come out and catch a puck and granted, it's not super talented, but you don't see a lot of goalies do that. Come out, catch the puck immediately on the ice, and hit somebody with a pass, streaking up the ice for a breakout immediately. And this is the other team's, dumping and changing, and he's already passing the puck right back up the ice, precision passing. And he's scored a goal in the AHL last season. So, a lot of goalies can't say that, but just shows how good he is playing the puck. But if you were to ask me now who I would like to see, I know Matt Murray's won 2 cups. I know that he was great in a lot of those games, good enough in a lot of those games also. But I would like to see at this point, I'd like to see what Tristan Jarry can do, and it would give us a better idea as to where they're going to go next season. Both goalies restricted free agents. Who are they keeping? Almost certainly can't keep both. So
yep. No, and in my view, Pens, are one of those teams you want to try to stay away from the playoffs. They got the veteran experience. They got cup winners. Despite the possible problem in goal, they're a team to be reckoned with. But there's a couple teams in the NHL, right, that are tops. St. Louis looks like a team on fire. Colorado in the Western Conference, obviously. I think Vegas is still a pretty good team. Connor McDavid, if you can get Edmonton over him and Draisaitl, if they can get him over the top, that's a dude to be reckoned with as well. But in the Eastern Conference, you got Washington, and then you got Boston, and then obviously the big guy to your right, Mr. Tampa. Andrei Vasilevsky, all-world goaltender, one of the tops. You obviously have Hedman, my buddy McDonough. You got a bunch of big names
Mac
on that team. Yeah, Big Mac. You got a bunch of big names on that team that have been close, right? They've been chopping on the door for a while now, and finally there's the season that comes along. They flounder out of the gates, but they come back and they have like 2 big winning streaks. I think one was 10 games, one was almost 14.
Yep.
But let's talk a little about Tampa. What do you think going into it? What are some positives you see with this little bit of an extended break here? What are some things you're worried about?
Well, to me, the biggest positive is that they can get healthy, because Stamkos was out, and he was, if the playoffs started on time like it was supposed to, he was going to be out until possibly late second round if they made it that far. So I think the best positive is they can get healthy. McDonough was out too, and I think he's ready to come back now. They're both ready to come back now too, which is good. Cons, I don't know. They suck in the playoffs lately. I mean, last year awful. Obviously, the other years they did better, but they can't get past the Game 7. They lost to Washington in Game 7. They lost to Pittsburgh in Game 7. The last Game 7 they won, I think, was against the Rangers.
Oh, is this true?
I believe it is. And then, so yeah, they have a lot of they have like a hump to get over.
If we just beaten you, we could have actually played very well against Chicago Blackhawks, and I think that would have been our cup season. But, oh man,
you really blew it
with an asterisk.
No. Well, yeah,
that was short
but
season.
Still.
Yep.
that was still the team. That was I think the Rangers' best team. But anyways, that's Alain Vigneault, and he sucks and whatever.
He's doing pretty good over in Philadelphia there.
He does well with veteran teams, and then he flounders in the playoffs. He's just terrible.
Yeah,
that's because he has Tanner Glass on every goddamn team.
Stale.
It's all Tanner Glass.
This guy, Tanner Glass.
I hope Tanner Glass is watching, and if he wants to play for our hockey team, we would gladly kick Bill Dean off the team and have him play, please.
Tanner Glass, if you are listening, if you are listening, we will kick this man off of our team. Just
Shorts guy did have a question.
Prestigious.
He asked if Bone Storm or Detroit would win in a 7-game series.
Wow.
Ooh, that's a tough one. Bone Storm has and just for those who don't know, Bone Storm is the name of the roller hockey team that we currently play on. For those of you who don't know what Bone Storm is, I suggest you start watching The Simpsons. That's a tough one. Bone Storm defense is a little a little fragile there.
I think we're the Detroit Red Wings of our league.
Of Morristown inline hockey. Comparable.
We're not good.
Comparable.
Our goalie really sucks.
Goaltending can be an issue. That's true. Anyway, back on track. Tanner Glass is great. I hope you can come play for us.
Yeah. No, but back to Tampa. You're talking about Game 7s and how well they do. Let's finish that thought on your Bolts. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they need to have, like a good long playoff run again.
Hey, not to interrupt. Elizabeth Dean had a great question, and back to Bone Storm. If we kick Bill Dean off of the team, who will win Shit the Bed award night in and night out?
I think that's obvious.
I mean, that award has my picture on it. It's somewhere around over there. So I'll have to...
All right, back to NHL.
Yeah.
Oh man.
No, so obviously, you finish up your Tampa thoughts, Schwim.
I mean, not much more. I mean, they need to have a long playoff run because they've been. Last year was just like the biggest disappointment like any Tampa fan could possibly have. They had such a good regular season. They had a good first period of the first game, and then all hell broke loose after that. So it was just like it's. They were playing with a huge chip on their shoulder this season. Didn't start out all that great, but then came back and really started playing really well. They're second in the league now. I think they're 8 points behind Boston and 11 or something ahead of Toronto, who's in third.
Yep.
So they need to get healthy, which I'm assuming that they will be, and have a long playoff run.
Yeah, Tampa Bay is. I gotta say. They're as close to as flawless a roster as you can get.
Who can't just get over the hump.
Yeah, that just can't find that. I don't know what it is that they're missing. I don't think it's coaching. I think John Cooper is an outstanding coach.
He's the longest tenured coach for a single team in the league right now.
It would be interesting if, and this is of course hypothetical because I don't think John Cooper should lose his job by any means, but if they replaced him, would that give them that little bit of extra that you see so many teams with that new coach that comes in and gives them that extra drive to make a long cup run or even win the cup? Pittsburgh did it twice. So who knows, right? Who knows? But Tampa's a fun team to watch, and they would one of the teams I had competing certainly in the either them or Boston has to come out of the one side of the playoffs there, and Boston's another team that is close to a flawless roster as well. So those two with goaltending, world class goaltending from both Rask and Vasilevsky, solid defense, offensive upside defensemen, 4 outstanding lines. So.
Yeah, and despite giving up the first-round picks, Barclay Goodrow and Blake Coleman, those are pretty good gets.
Coleman.
For a team, that's what I said, right?
Coleman has 1 point.
Yeah.
Blake Coleman,
Blake Coleman, 1 point in, I think, 10 games or something that he played.
but it's still a really good get, and I think it's a guy that solidifies that top 9. Your depth is scary when you look at the forwards, and it's a team that hopefully, for Schwim's sake, is a team to be reckoned with in the playoffs. But
and they're both signed for next season.
Yeah, no, both have. That's a big thing, obviously, with this whole
both have one more year.
Yeah, with this whole year possibly being over, or however they're going to end this, to have one more year of play, giving around, from giving a first round pick. That's pretty important. So, that's a great team. Obviously, a team like we think that we'll get out of the Eastern Conference, either them or Boston. So, but Quickly going over the Western Conference, obviously, we had said before, St. Louis, Colorado. Hey, even Dallas is right there. They're a couple 10 points behind Colorado in that Central Division. In that Pacific, Vegas, Edmonton, and then you have that Battle of Alberta with Edmonton and Calgary, those games are so much fun to watch. And even
Especially
Vancouver
now.
they're two great teams that continually beat the living daylights out of each other when they play. Matthew Tkachuk, you hate his guts, I guess, if you're playing against him, but he's so much fun to watch from a spectator standpoint. He's fun. Him and Johnny Hockey together.
Back and forth each other.
Yeah, casual.
The Western Conference the Western Conference, at least currently, is this. I mean, St. Louis. If you eliminate St. Louis from the picture, and we're talking about the other, whatever 7 teams make the playoffs, I could not tell you who the hell out of those 7 teams is going to come out of the West. It sounds like hands down St. Louis should, just based on what's happening. It's ultra competitive, but at the same time it's not, because it's just those teams. I mean, it's not like the East is a real battle, and the West seems to be pretty settled as far as the teams that are going to be in the playoffs, or should be in the playoffs for that matter, because the bubble teams, Vancouver, has had their moments, but is Minnesota really? Even if they make it in. Sorry, Minnesota
they've
fans.
They've been playing a lot better
but
since they fired Boudreaux, which I believe I went on record and said they should have fired him a long time ago.
Yes.
And I also went on record saying that Lundqvist should have been traded a very long time ago.
I think a lot of people went on record saying that.
No, but
makes the most sense. But yeah,
I was say that was that 2014 playoff, right? There was that 6 teams in each division would go to the playoffs. So that means St. Louis, Colorado, Dallas, Winnipeg, Nashville, and Minnesota. And then in the Pacific, which this I think is the funniest thing, Vegas, Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver. Then you get Arizona, and then Anaheim would be that 6th team, and they were terrible this year.
Imagine that.
That's ridiculous.
67 points.
Let's just let everybody in. Put all 31 teams in the playoffs.
I mean, you can't tell me John Gibson.
You would think that they're in the playoffs. They're bad. They're good. But what if they win a round? I mean, it can happen. I mean, and hockey is one of those sports where let's not include Detroit in this, because Detroit is a special kind of terrible. But anybody can beat anybody at any moment.
Especially in the playoffs.
Especially in the playoffs. And if you have a team like that, hot goalie, like you said, Gibson, can he take him on a long run? He certainly could. I mean, I wouldn't put it past him. The kid's a fantastic goalie. And the rest of the team, and a lot of these teams, some of these teams at least, that would be in the bubble of this 12-team per side playoff, is like they've already unloaded a lot of their guys. I mean, they traded away a lot of their roster, so it'd be like, okay, oops, we're in the playoffs. And
they wouldn't even know what to do. They'd be like, how did we get here? What happened? They wouldn't even know what to do.
All part of their master plan.
Yes. And they run the table. Don't lose a single game.
Even looking at this from the player standpoint too, Gibson injuries, and he's slowly coming up on that, RFA, UFA. I think you're right. He's going to be a UFA in not next year, but the year after. I mean, this is time where, maybe he wants to get his body healthy. Is it smart for him to play in a playoff like this? On the other side, Arizona, where you have Taylor Hall, he's going to become, the best free agent that, in this year's crop. Does he really want to risk a possible injury in a season that's kind of already, down the tubes? So, it's little things like that.
There it is.
There's the Arizona Bill.
Had to mention Taylor Hall.
Those Devil fans, they love him.
Hart Trophy winning Taylor Hall.
And he loved the Devils. You're sure of that.
Sound bites make it even better.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he's good. Sam, thank you, buddy. No, but going back, obviously, we'll talk about this more and more as the podcast goes on. But one funny thing I wanted to kind of end with, maybe our last segment. There was a article on NHL.com about Wayne Gretzky, and he was talking about who he would want to play with if he was playing today in today's NHL. So he chose as his line mates. He chose Ovechkin, and he said that it was because of his shot and his ability to get the puck on net, and obviously he's a monster. And then McDavid for his speed and his passing ability. He gave an honorable mention to Draisaitl, Crosby, Matthews, Marner. It was a pretty interesting read on NHL.com. You guys check it out. But I figured we'll do something pretty cool with this. Who would your top line be? So if you guys were taking an old player from your team, so Tampa and Pittsburgh, and I'll do the Rangers later, and then two current NHL players, who do you think the player would want to play with, and who do you think you would want that player to play with? So we'll start with Steve in Pittsburgh.
It's an interesting topic here because I could go. Obviously, there's Pittsburgh fans have been blessed with a plethora of Hall of Famers and just phenomenal players. But obviously, when you're talking Wayne Gretzky, you want to talk Mario Lemieux too. Part of me thinking this over was like, okay, instead of Mario, what about Jágr? And then you take Jágr and put him on a team. But for the sake of this conversation, let's say Mario Lemieux. Who I would want to see him play with. I've already seen him play with Sidney Crosby, so obviously I'm not going to pick Sidney Crosby. We'll leave him out of this. I think an ideal line for him would probably be Pasternak and Patrick Kane. Now I get that they're both right wingers, but one would play their off wing. But the scoring ability of Pasternak is undeniable. With Mario Lemieux feeding him the puck, and Mario Lemieux obviously no slouch himself to scoring goals, and then just the pure skill of Patrick Kane. I think that would be just imagining that line is just it's something else. Not a lot of defense on that line, but definitely a lot of skill, a lot of offense, and a lot of fun, I would think.
Yeah. No, that's what's one hell of a line. Schwim, if you're taking a Tampa guy, you're going with LeCavalier, you're going your buddy Marty? Not Marty Lynn.
Well, I would like... He is my buddy also.
So I haven't seen Marty Lynn comment. I don't know if he's tuned in or not.
He was on here. I'm sure he
is.
Oh, yeah? All right.
I would want to see Vinny and Marty with somebody. I was thinking Peter Forsberg was like a dominant player in our league, and I would love to see like him play with some of my favorite players. But also I thought of this in a kind of a different way. I thought of one of my favorite players was a goalie, Darren Pupa. So I would love to see him in like today's NHL just get absolutely lit up by Connor McDavid and like Alex Ovechkin. It would be so, I think it would be pretty fun to see. But any high shot he would save. All you'd have to do is shoot low on him because he doesn't go down.
Stand-up goaltender.
He's a rare breed. Well, him and like Bill Ranford. But yeah, I would like to see. I think to me that would be more interesting to see my favorite goalie in going against like maybe him in his prime going against like the prime players of the league like Crosby and Malkin and McDavid and everybody, and just seeing him get lit up I think would be kind of funny, but also pretty entertaining. But yeah, I'd want to see Vinny play with like, I don't know why, but I just said it. I don't know why, but like Peter Forsberg was like the first person that came to my mind. Like growing up in the 90s, watching him play for a little bit, he was the best player in the league. He was. He was
debatable.
Sick.
It was.
Yeah.
I would say debatable.
He was.
Hey guys.
He was a dominant player.
Yeah.
Guys, I gotta interrupt. It is debatable if Peter Forsberg was the best player. You know who it is.
Is this God?
God.
Yes, this is God. How are you?
Morgan Freeman?
No, it's Brett Hull. It's Brett Hull.
That was when he was drunk.
I'll
How drunk is Brett Hull in that picture?
Very.
Yeah. Well, that's the outro song before we go. Brett Hull, he's gonna be singing a little bit later,
nice.
before the podcast ends. But no, getting back to my point, Peter Forsberg was probably the best player in the league for maybe 1 or 2 years in the late 90s.
Mhm.
And the amazing thing about it that kills Philadelphia Flyer fans, even though they love Eric Lindros, he was like part of that deal, of that major trade. And it just, and look at what Quebec got, which now is Colorado Avalanche. That's probably one of the most amazing trades in league history. Anyway, I just wanted to chime in.
Yeah, I agree with that. Peter Forsberg was something. He was a special kind of talent, especially back then in the clutch and grab years. With this slow him and Jaromir Jagr. I mean, year in and year out was debated. And throw Joe Sakic in there as well, because Joe Sakic was no slouch himself. But him and Jaromir Jagr, every year it was like, okay, who's the best player in the league? And we get a lot of that now too. It's like, okay, now who's the best player in the league? You had that with Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin for years and years and years. So certainly debatable, but if Peter Forsberg was an absolute force. But yeah, I would putting him. I don't know who I would put on his line. I mean, Connor McDavid. You put Peter Forsberg and Connor McDavid on a line, and you throw anybody on the other side, and what do you got? So.
No, I mean that's Peter Forsberg was one of my favorite players, but yeah, that's a pretty good conversation. I mean, from the Ranger standpoint, right? Obviously, you could go Mark Messier, you could go Adam Graves, two guys, from their cup runs. I went kind of a little later. I went back to my dad's years of watching hockey because this was his favorite player, and just watching some highlights on him and some quick things. Jean Rattel. I mean, yeah, Papa Dean. Jean Rattel was a center. He was part of the gag line, goal a game. Him, Roger Gilbert, and Vic Hadfield. He was named one of the top 100 NHL players of all time. He had 109 points while missing 15 games in 71-72, which was, back then was a feat. I was thinking logically about him. Put him someone like Leon Draisaitl, someone goes, size and skill, gets him the corners, does a lot of the lug work. I had a tough time not taking Mika on this because obviously a Homer Ranger fan. And then the other one I gave him Artemi Panarin. I mean, like I said before in the top of the show, he had the most points 5-on-5. He was one of the top possession players, and he was playing with Jesper Fast and Ryan Strome, which, if you guys know hockey, those two aren't exactly world beaters. It's not like he's playing with Mika the whole time, or he's not playing with the studs. So that's one of those guys that I think, he's obviously gets credence for the Hart because he just took the Rangers by storm, and then his ability to come into New York and make that contract look actually good is something to behold. So, I went a little later, got Jean Rattel. I thought it was a pretty good line, so I'll take that one. But we go ahead.
No, it's just it's fun to think about players from those. And, we automatically go because growing up in the '90s, we go to those players in the '90s. But even back further than that, you can find a lot of ridiculous talent that who knows how it would hold up nowadays. But I think it's fair to I think Mario Lemieux, Wayne Gretzky, Peter Forsberg. I think those guys could easily transition into these years and even statistically do better. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, but we'll come back, obviously, next Monday. We'll talk a little more, maybe do some more playoff stuff. I know there are a bunch of questions on Facebook Live we didn't get onto, but we'll definitely get answering some more when we get back on Monday. But, guys, it's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed the first one, and here's to many more. Just quickly, we were talking about the beers before. I give mine a solid 4.25. It was a really good beer. This is on the rating of 5 on Untapped. It's a pretty good app on your phone if you want to look at it. But 4.25, I thought it was a good one. You guys, quickly.
Schwim.
Me first. I'm not as generous with the ratings. I'll go 3.7. Very good beer. I like it a lot. 3.75. I'll go
3.75.
Yeah.
So Sigmeister never ceases to amaze me. Altogether, once again, the beer of choice, IPA brewed specifically for this time to support hospitality professionals. Solid 4. Solid IPA.
Cool.
And if you guys live in the area of Hackettstown, Sigmeister will deliver to you. Go to their Facebook page, check them out, check out their beer list. And like I said, if you guys are even Coors Light, Miller Lite, Bud Light, whatever drinkers that you guys are, there is a beer there. And at a lot of your local craft beers that I know, we sound like beer snobs because we're drinking IPAs or whatever. But check out these craft breweries because there is craft style of the beer that you like, and I guarantee you will find something that you like, and you'll be supporting your local craft brewery.
Yeah, guys, go out, support local. Once again, thank you guys very much for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Schwim, take her home.
We're going to make like a tree and leave.
This is the Hockey on Tap podcast. We'll be back Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern on the Primetime Radio Network. We'll leave you with a drunk Brett Hall.
Brett Hall. I don't want to say this.
I think I got your number, Gloria.
I think they got aliens.
Gloria,
That you've been living under.
Gloria.
But you really don't remember. Was it something that they said? All the voices in your head. Calling
Gloria, Gloria, Gloria. I think I got your number, Gloria.